That clock's on.
Is it on?
No, yeah,
I got,
couple minutes.
I got 5:29.
Have all
it's
kinds of
a
good
minute
chank,
off.
chank music.
Yeah, I'll be in Lafayette next weekend for Mardi Gras.
You may have
Huh?
major
I'll be in
influx of
Lafayette
people.
next weekend for Mardi Gras.
Ah, Lafayette.
Lafayette. They have parades there. That's where the family's from, is around there.
We have a big deal.
It's like a family reunion. We get together. We take over a church parking lot, right across from the university.
Family?
Yeah, mom's side of the family, dad's side of the family, got cousins, got friends. We rent, we don't, I say we don't take it
Across
over.
from USL?
But we, yeah, right, Ooh La La now.
Yeah.
But yeah, we rent 3/4 of the parking lot. I got an uncle shows up with his RV, so we've got our own bathroom for the ladies. The guys walk across the street to the porta johns. But we set up the barbecue pits and the canopies, and there's a kids parade about 2 o'clock, and an adult parade about 7.
Well, on my thing, it's
I'm ready.
5:30.
That's what I have, I've got 5:32.
Why don't you call him? Did you call him?
He's en route, he just texted me.
Huh?
He's en route, he
we
texted me.
can, why do we need him?
He's what?
He's en route already.
He
He's
said
he's
he's on his
texted
way.
me.
Is he on the agenda?
He's explaining the well. What-
What is
And I'm
explaining the
Well, I'm
well?
assuming we can ask questions. of
Well,
some
Discuss,
sort.
approve,
Yeah, if
emergency.
you've got some technical questions
We
between.
went through a whole meeting on this Friday, I thought we were.
You
just-
did,
No.
we didn't.
No, we didn't.
I don't know that you did. I mean, you left the same time everybody else did.
Well, we
didn't
were
do
supposed to
anything.
do this on Friday.
No, sir, we did not do a damn thing on Friday because
What were
We
we
didn't
supposed
have
to
an
do on
agenda.
Friday? What were we supposed to do on Friday?
we were supposed to have this agenda on Friday and we didn't
Right.
have it.
Okay, well, that's
It
absurd.
was, the agenda was made out incorrectly.
It was my fault, Bob, because I didn't word it
And
right.
we couldn't discuss or act on anything because it would have been a Open Meetings Act violation and all that other kind of BS.
Well, Monday's a bad day to have it, because I've been to Cleveland, I've been to Cold Spring, I've been to Huntsville, I barely made it.
I've been to New Orleans and Lafayette
Today?
today.
Really?
I've been to the gym
I
and that's
came in
even
from New
worse.
Orleans.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Do we advertise for bids for the well? Or do we have an agreement with Weisinger that they do all of our wells irregardless of?
That's what this emergency
We can
meeting's about.
discuss
It's a totally different thing if you do it in an emergency thing.
Are we on?
Well,
We're on?
let's go ahead and commence.
That's why I asked my
The
question.
meeting is called to order, if you will, to discuss an emergency. This is an emergency meeting to discuss a replacement for well number 2. To bring you up to date, would you get your jar of stuff out,
You are?
Sam?
Oh,
Bring you up to date. Mark went out with me 2 weeks ago when we found out we had holes in the casing and all that. And we elected to take a couple of steps of action to make sure that we could repair the well at a cost that we could afford at that time. We made that attempt, and basically the casing collapsed on us. And the well bore, at least from 600 feet down, is full of that, which is where all of our material comes from. And if we tried to produce it, we'd have nothing but sand come up and cut out our bumps, etc. Therefore, it is Weisinger's recommendation, and I'm going to let the floor to the Blau man who was at our last meeting, at which time it was explained all of this had occurred, and let him explain to you from Blau's standpoint what's going on. Mark, you have it. Mr. Sullivan.
So, these are the minutes from the meeting that we had the other day. It's two-sided, by the way. Which one for you? Since you were there. Basically, I just reiterated the facts, everything we've kind of talked about already. The old well is not producing any longer. They have tested it. I put down the facts. The old well was built in 1970. In 1996, the screens were relined. That gave it a service life extension. Anytime you pull the well, they refurbish the well, which again, that gives it a life extension. And so you've actually received about a 20-year life extension out of the well. It's done pretty good. It's currently a 16 by, what's known as a 16 by 10 well. It's about 1,250 feet deep, and it was designed to pump 1,000 gallons per minute at approximately 410 feet of head. Pump was previously, I thought I corrected that, it was set at 500 feet. Didn't we fix that?
Yes.
It was set at 500 feet, not 400 feet. The static water level is about 200, normally should be about 300 feet, but anyway, it's about 229 feet. Currently, pumping level is about 306 feet, which gives you 77 feet of drawdown. Again, when the pump comes on, what it does, it draws the water down to some level. And then when the pump goes off, it goes back to the static level. Basically, you have about 94 feet of water, that'd be 194 feet of water over the well, over the pump. Weisinger has already been paid approximately $115,000, and there is more billing expected to complete work that they have done and have not billed for yet. They did some more work while doing all this explanation. So that has not been billed yet, so I don't have an exact on that, but during the testing they installed a temporary liner and they attempted to clean the well, and obviously as it collapsed. The static water level has now been reduced to 150 feet, and that's an indication that you're now drawing or commingling from the upper aquifer. This is a TCQ violation. It's a Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District violation. It's a violation of typical principles of water wells, because what happens is you're now pulling water out of the upper aquifer and allowing it to get to the lower aquifer, and or vice versa. Thereby one aquifer can contaminate the other, and it's not a good situation. We have to certify when we finish a well that we're not doing that. So it's not a good situation. They did take video. They can see the holes in the casing. Their camera was actually blown back and forth by the velocity of the flow. Also, the camera indicated the screens at the bottom of the well were actually blocked. And that's why they did the agitation, was to try to clear the screens. Well, thinking through this somewhat, when you stop pulling water through those screens, they will start to clog up somewhat naturally. So this is another indication you may have been pulling water out of the upper aquifer for some period of time, rather than the lower aquifer. Thereby, it's easier to come out of the upper than it is the lower. So since you can't clean those screens, which is your biggest thing, you've already relined those screens. You're kind of stuck at this point. So out of the meeting, I discerned that there was little hope. We went through every possibility of trying to restore the well, but it's getting so small. You do have a 150 horsepower motor, which basically needs to be cleaned, but it appears that it can currently be reused until such time as it fails. But again, it's 1970, 40 years old, 50 years old. It's held up pretty good, because you haven't replaced the motor, right?
Oh, yeah, I've replaced it.
Did you replace the motor?
In Harvey, we lost it in Harvey, we had to replace it.
So that's only less than 10 years? Okay. I didn't have that.
3 years.
Yeah, 2 years old.
Okay.
Right. And I've got a high efficiency, so.
Oh, that's good to know. I think you told me that. I forgot to add that to my notes. Right now, during the summer months, The district uses approximately 30 million gallons per month, which equals 1 million gallons per day. You have two other wells. One was drilled pre-1970 and one was drilled in 1996, as I understand it. So you've got a 500 gallons per minute well, a 1,000 gallons per minute well. You lose either one of those wells, you're in violation with TCEQ. You're also in dire straits. If you lose the 500 GPM well, your 1,000 well will be running 14 hours a day, which means you're now stressing it to the max. If you lose the 1,000 gallon per minute well, you don't have capacity to even provide service to your customers. And that's where you will be required to start implementing drought contingency, both through TCQ as well as through Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District. Are you a member of the GRP, the SGRA GRP?
Not this year.
Okay, you're not part of it, okay.
No, we don't have to answer the SJRA.
Thank God.
Yes.
What's the big meeting here in RP with them?
Don't worry about
It's
it.
not
Let's
in
talk about this.
Okay,
We can talk about that later. So basically, the district really needs a well in operation by June the 1st. There's some things, additional things that we need to do. We're recommending, after talking with a lot of things, dropping the pump 50 or 100 feet deeper for the reason that drawdown is a long-term thing and it can continue. In accordance with Lone Star, everybody says the aquifer is continuing to drop. And if you go ahead and set the pump at a lower depth, you have a few minor losses now, but it saves you from pulling the pump and having to do that work later. You're already installing a brand new well. The cost is actually minimal. What do you pay just to pull the well pump and motor?
13,000.
$13,000 just to pull it. And so at this point, all they need to do is buy the additional equipment and install it while they're installing the well. It really doesn't take them probably less than a day of time. So the new scope of the well is to replace it, a 1,000 GPM well with a 1,000 GPM well. Your design head's the same. We are recommending that you upsize your well from a 16 by 10 inch to an 18 by 12 inch. And we can bid it, well, let me go there. We can get an alternate to go back with a 16 by 10. The reason we're recommending going with the larger size well is if you need additional capacity, you now have it.
We don't have anywhere for additional capacity. You got,
You don't?
there's nowhere else to build.
Y'all
building.
are building, y'all
We're,
are
we're built
constructed out,
We're
okay.
about 98% built
Okay.
up.
Well, we can go with the 16 by 10 and we can ask for what the upsize is just for comparison. If we want to look at that. We can reuse the existing motor. We'll evaluate it just to be sure. I understand that Weisinger has already purchased a new well pump, and that's because they tore the old pump down and found that it was all degraded. So they've got a new pump. It's already in their shop. We lower the pump. We will have to extend the power from the old location to the new. Everybody so far believes that that can be done with just by extending the wires, but we will verify that. We believe that we can connect the well to the existing header. It's an 8-inch pipe. And we'll check all that. That's where it was connected before, so it shouldn't be a problem. It's possible that we can plug the old well with mud for the new well. That will require that we use the same driller for both contracts. And I'm not making any decision on that right yet. The new well location is about 200 feet from the current location. We would also have to extend the chemical feed from the existing, how far? Again, it's 200 feet, so we shouldn't have a problem with just pushing the chlorine that far. If need be, we can always move, put a small chlorine building over there. So, we provided back in August an engineering proposal to do a new well. That shows the cost of the new well to be approximately $1.25 million. And the engineering fee to be, was $250,000, I believe. The proposal is still valid. We don't see a need to upsize that proposal. I have additional copies if you want to give all the directors, I'm sorry. The $1.25 million is, that's a standard cost of what a Jasper water well, if we go and do a clean site, again, right now we're looking at doing it by emergency. I don't want to give you a dollar value that's too low. We will have to do some other information on that. Once we have approval, what we will do is contact TCEQ on your behalf. We will send them a letter that states that the district is nearing impaired capacity because of the loss of the well, and that we're declaring an emergency. We wish to start a new well. They will allow us to start drilling the well. We can't put it into use until we do all the paperwork. But they will allow us, instead of doing the paperwork and asking permission and then drilling the well, they're gonna allow us to drill the well and then do the paperwork to follow it up. We do enough wells that typically it's not an issue. It's not the way they'd like to do it, but if we do it that way, we have to proceed within 60 days. We have to be started on our well. Otherwise, they will say, you don't have an emergency, and start the process. They've already done that to us once this year. Let's see. Our intent is, first off, we've got to get TCEQ, we've got to do the TCEQ and get their approval, but simultaneously we have to get Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District's approval because you're drilling another well. And so they have to be notified, and you have to get their approval, it has to go to their board. Shouldn't be an issue, but we still have to do the paperwork. Meantime, what we'd like to do is prepare a scope of services for the new well, and actually we've already been working on it. What we intend to do is do a bid sheet so that whoever gives us a proposal for this is working on the same stuff that we're expecting they need to do. Drill the well, how deep to drill the well, what size of motor, the fact we already have a brand new pump. All those things should reduce the cost of the well. So that's our proposal. We're gonna give contractors approximately 1 week to get us a response, which is not normal. We don't have to do the bid process, which is time consuming and laborious. I would request the board's permission to authorize the president, general manager, I'm not sure how your board operates, and possibly, however, one other board member to review the proposals, and we can make an award so we can start the contractors as soon as possible.
Anybody have any questions?
I do. What is the TCEQ requirement per gallon per minute per household or per tap?
For a water well,
Yep.
0.6.
Okay, so if we already have 1,500 on the other two wells,
No,
Why?
we don't, but go ahead.
Okay.
That's what they're rated at.
That's if they're rated at 100% efficiency.
Okay, so what are they
Nothing is
at?
rated at 100%
Okay,
efficiency,
so what are they rated at?
even though it's
what are
brand
they-
spanking new.
What are they producing?
Yeah,
Percentage wise, roughly.
nothing works 100%.
No,
Oh,
but
but
what,
give me
but what are, I mean, are they,
All right.
How
is it
many,
running at
what are
90,
they, how many
80%?
are they servicing? It's a
Well,
simple thing.
right now, we, the last pump we pulled was between 65 and 70% efficient.
Okay, that low?
I was gonna say, that's not,
That's very low.
Well, the first well's what, before 1970?
Yes.
That's your 500 GPM.
Yeah, that's,
About, I can't give you an exact date, but,
Okay, so that's 975 gallons.
yeah, we're not considering everything though. One thing that you didn't consider in here is that if there is a fire, there is a so-called requirement per meter, am I not correct? Somewhere? You've had more
So are
dealing
you
with it
saying
than I have. I haven't
TCEQ's
had any.
requirement is less than the fire
Yes.
requirement?
Yes.
Yes.
Let me explain.
And
Okay.
when we go into that and apply that, we are now in arrears.
Okay.
Period.
Okay, so
We
it's a
can't
fire
meet the
requirement.
requirement for both.
I don't have the fire requirements because we don't design. the
Steve,
fire-
you, I think, were the ones that brought up the fire requirement.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall what it was?
I don't remember the exact factor. I believe that,
Anyway, the deal was that we couldn't put out a fire. We wouldn't have enough water to put out a fire at our current condition.
So, just to clarify, typical water well is built for water,
This is just-
potable water.
The only thing he's
However,
considered here
over-
was
over
potable
time,
water.
Basically, it made sense. You've got water mains running all over the place. Let's just hook fire hydrants to them. That's what happened. Well, what they came to find out over the, last 30 years or so is we have all these systems that are designed, but they don't have the capacity for fire flow. And so, there's a difference between the TCQ fire flow, potable water requirements, and your fire protection, which is done by the NFPA.
And
it's
that
significantly higher.
determines what fire code we fall under, and it determines the fire insurance for each home
That's
in the area.
exactly correct.
Yeah.
Because that's where you run into
And,
your problems.
it depends on how much water we have, and I'm gonna say, well, I forget, I won't say.
I think your ground storage tank, your storage capacity in addition to your well, and your pumps that feed the hydromatic system, that's the main proponent in the fire protection, to have so much storage on hand to be able to fight it real fast.
We understand that.
And so,
Yeah, but you never know how much storage you might have on hand when a fire occurs.
right, but I'm saying when they tabulate how much you have to have,
Yes.
it's your well,
I
your storage
understand that.
tank, your booster pump, and your hydro.
And we have roughly 350,000 barrels, gallons. Is that
So-
not correct?
Go ahead.
How many gallons of storage do we have?
Well, right now, we're down to only 570,000.
And that's because you're not using the
We can't-
48
Well, now, we
volt
could
tank.
utilize, in an emergency, we could utilize 3, 2, and 1.
No, I cannot pump the water out of 2 right now. It's been sitting in that tank way too
I
long.
didn't say pump water out of 2. I said we could use the storage out of number 2.
I was gonna say
No,
for a
we
fire, you
cannot.
couldn't.
Why
You
not?
couldn't? Why not?
Because it's gonna go into the domestic line, that water is
It's
not,
not
not
potable.
compatible
No,
for
not
drinking.
So what are we gonna do with it once, you have to just drain it?
Yeah, I'm already.
Are you draining it now?
No,
I would hope.
right now I'm storing it because I don't want to drain the tank. Now you have other issues with rust and stuff building up. So I'm storing the water in there, but I can't use that water. It's already been in there too long, the TD, they call it.
What he's saying is he can't use it without.
I can't put it in the
treating
system,
He
right.
can treat it and then use it.
Only when we're ready to start the well back up again, then I'll drain the tank completely, flush it, bring it up, so I know what I mean, to take bacteria tests before I put that plant back
But
on.
there's no way a fire department could go over, hook up their tanker.
They did it before. They did 3 and 2 before, for 10 years.
Yeah.
So they could hook up their tanker,
Yeah,
fill
they
it
can
up,
hook it
go
up.
to the
It
fire.
was done before.
Right.
There's no reason why it couldn't be done today.
You can't hook the fire truck to the tank. There's no connection.
Well,
to that.
I know
We're
there's
just
everything. I'm
talking
talking,
storage.
get it out of there, put it in the tanker, so they could go
We're
to
just
a
talking
fire.
emergency storage now. But all I'm saying,
You have a huge fire, 4
Right.
houses catch on fire.
Right.
You can go for water reserve, load up the tanker truck, go back to the fire
Well-
location, is what I'm
if you
asking.
had it,
You can't do that.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, you can't do that. Not in that, if you're talking about utilizing that tank, you can't use
Right.
it, because all the tank pipes are pumps, direct to the pumps. There's no.
There's no
There's no
outsourced
exit.
exit, okay.
There's not a
That's-
spigot on the
Yeah.
That's,
tank.
well,
No.
I'm asking if there's an outlet
No, the
somewhere.
suction goes straight to the pumps, that's it.
Okay,
Then they discharge into the system.
okay.
Now, what did you do for 10 years?
What do you mean what I do?
You
Nothing.
produced number 3 into number 2 and treated it.
Well, we pumped it from number 3
That's
all
right.
the way to number 2, and then,
And then treated it.
no, we injected it into the tank and then treated it.
All right.
So,
Why couldn't that be?
I don't understand, where are you gonna get, the pipe goes straight
Well,
into
we're
the tank.
talking about storage capacity. That's all I'm trying to get to.
You can't use tank number 2, or you put it into the equation because it's not potable water anymore. And the only way to get the water out of the tank is drain it or pump it through the system. That's it. So you take that out of the equation, you can't use that, it's not safe.
And how were we able to do it from 95 to 2008?
You were pumping direct from plant 3 through a sealed pipeline all the way to the tank
All right,
and
we
dumping
still
it
got
into the
that.
sealed
We
tank.
still got that pipeline, correct?
That is correct. It's
All
still
right.
there.
What would prevent us from doing it again?
Into 2, I don't have any control, I don't have any way to control plant number 3 anymore. When that plant became an isolated plant or a
How did
standalone
you
plant,
control it before?
it used to have electrical controls and stuff that went
All right.
all the way to there.
Well, you could control it.
Well, the controls aren't there anymore. Those were all taken out when the plant was
But
built.
you don't want to. I understand you don't want to.
It's not that I
too much
don't want
trouble.
to.
But it happened before it could happen again.
Well, let me put it this way.
Why did we take the controls out?
They were no longer necessary. It's a
That-
standalone
see,
Apparently
plant.
they're necessary right
No, he
now.
put the tank
No.
in and therefore he did away with what was controlling what was going to number 2. All I'm
Okay.
saying is that you could return everything back if you had to have just additional storage. I'm gonna get off of that because that's a moot point, really.
Yeah, if we can't get it out, okay.
Yeah.
So if, I'm just gonna throw this out there, why couldn't we build a 500 gallon per minute capacity instead of 1,000? Because even at 500 gallons, at TCEQ's 0.06 gallons per minute, at 65% capacity,
You're
it puts,
cheating.
it puts us
You're
at
cheating
1,300.
everybody.
You're not
I mean, you've
It's
got
a
2,000,
It's at double the requirement by TCEQ.
it's not double.
It is. If you will let me finish, I will tell you.
You don't have the fire
Okay.
stuff down.
Okay.
You do not know what the fire is.
That, you're exactly right, I don't, and nobody can tell me what
And
the
that's
fire
right.
is.
So why bring up something different?
Well, because.
Because
We
the
know
only
it was
requirement I have
satisfied.
is TCEQ.
We know it was satisfied with 1,000.
Okay, so just because it's always worked in the past, just keep going with the standard.
That's
I'm
it.
just asking a question.
Fine.
Obviously, I'm not allowed to ask a question.
You can ask any question you want.
Okay,
just
well, I
make
was
it-
asking him a
Make it
question.
legitimate.
I was asking him a
Ask him.
question.
Ask him.
Well, it seems legitimate that she should be able to ask a question.
Ask it.
I was in the middle of asking it. Mr. Sullivan, if we had a 5,000 gallon per minute well, at
500.
500, sorry.
Wow, boy,
500 gallon per minute well, plus the other 500, plus the other 1,000, that's 2,000 gallons per minute. TCEQ's requirement is 0.06 gallons per minute. We have, let's say, for numbers reasons, 1,000 connections. Okay? 1,000 connections is 600 gallons per minute.
Okay.
Okay, 65% of 2,000 gallons is 1,300. Why do we need more than double TCEQ's requirement?
Because when you hit 85% of your capacity, you're required to start a new water well.
Okay, so,
That's in the rules and regs.
okay,
That's the
so
requirement.
85% of my capacity of 2,000 gallons per minute.
1,700.
It just starts kicking in.
We don't have 1,700 connections. We only have 964.
If it helps, help you answer your question, the requirements for the fire department when they have.
Okay, forget the fire department. I don't want, nobody can tell me what the fire department requirements are.
I can-
So why do we keep bringing up the fire department when nobody can tell me what they are?
I was just about to tell you.
Okay.
His requirements are 1,250 gallons a minute for
Okay,
his pumper to suck out of that hydrant.
okay,
That's what he told me.
okay, well, I just showed you it calculated at 1,300 at a 500 gallon per minute tank or well. So why are we going to 1,000? Because on here it says for additional growth. We're not growing anywhere.
No, there's no.
Then what do we need 1,000 gallons per minute well for? Yes,
I'd like to offer my comment.
thank you.
Well one is the oldest well you have.
Okay,
I would not put any stock on that long-term
Okay.
option.
Right.
Because well two is a younger well than well one, and it's already deteriorated and failed. So
okay,
I humbly submit well one
Okay.
is probably close to the end of its life.
okay, and well one is how
Is
many
one the
gallons?
500 or the
Yes, sir.
1,000?
It was the original well.
It's the 500.
Yes, sir.
The
So when one goes, we won't re-drill it. We'll just stick with 2 and 3.
If you drill a
I'm
large,
asking.
if hypothetically, if you were to drill a large enough capacity well now, if you lost that, it would carry you in, you know, if you drilled 1,000 or a 1,200 gallon a minute well, it would be beneficial to do that if you lost well one.
But my question is, we would not re-drill well one if we
If
lost
you
it.
drilled a large enough well now to supplement that, moving forward, it would cut that expense out in the future.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
The
know.
only reason that I'm looking at well 1, 2 is, as you said, because of the age, and it's a smaller well. It only has a 70,000 gallon tank. You
Okay,
can pump that baby out so
Right.
fast and not funny. You're right, we have the 2 big ones. Why have you drilled a little?
right,
I would abandon it and
Right.
go to the 2 big ones.
that, you answered my question. Thank you.
Now, let me clarify something that
Okay.
you said. I'm not, the original previous well pump, or well, was 1,000 GPM well. The new one would be 1,000 GPM. And yes, I did make the statement in here because it was discussed. Again, I'm not the district engineer, so I'm catching up on a lot of different things. I was just recommending replacing the well, the 1,000 GPM well with 1,000 GPM, because that's what you had.
Okay.
To meet TCEQ. If you downsize your well, you're gonna have to get TCEQ approval to do that.
Well, there's also the problem, is that we're gonna be drilling